What's so great about cheap LED flashlights? Stick around, I'm going to show you 5 of them that I think are so cool. Check it out. Welcome to Things You Might Like. I'm Mike, and this is the channel where we talk about products, projects, and anything that is great bang for the buck. If it doesn't have good value, you're not going to see it here. Today, I want to feature these LED flashlights. Let me give you a brief about what they are. These little flashlights can be found all over Amazon. They're often on the daily deals, and they're really popular. And the reasons why are pretty simple. They're built great. They're extremely bright, they're versatile, they have a bunch of different modes, and my favorite part is that they use a very common 18650 lithium-ion battery, and I'll talk a little bit later more about where you can find that and why that's really neat. For now, I'm going to walk you through these features in a little more detail. The first one is this zoom. When it's all the way pulled out, it actually focuses the beam so tightly that you can see a projection of the LED itself. Now there are a ton of videos that talk about how bright these things are and compare the brightness, so I'm not going to dive into that today. All of them have pretty much the same LED, they're similar in size, similar build quality, maybe a little bit of variance in the color, maybe some's a little bit warmer, most of them are fairly white, daylight white, so I'm not going to dive into all that. So if you want to check that out, look at all the other YouTube videos that go into more depth on the brightness and the light of these flashlights. But more on the build quality of this guy, it feels really solid. Now when you use the zoom on some of these lights, it's maybe a little too loose or a little too tight. This one is just right, and I usually give it a little twist, makes it a little bit easier. But another thing that's neat is the tip of these lights have almost this rook appearance from a chess set. It's this semi-serrated edge, I don't really know how to call it. And I don't know if it's meant for like breaking a car window, or if it's supposed to mimic some of the security flashlights where it's meant for a self-defense weapon, but it's really neat and it feels very strong, and you can definitely do some damage with this guy. If we take a tour around the back, you pretty much get an orange or green button, sometimes textured. This one's not, but it varies from one to the other. If you prefer one color, great. If not, whatever. Another major feature of these that they all share is they have 5 different light modes. They have the brightest setting, the medium setting, the low setting, the strobe light, and the SOS setting. All of them have that. They all come with it. Now for me, the strobe and the SOS are a little gimmicky, but I use the high, medium, and low setting all the time. Now one thing I really wish these had, but generally it's a function reserved for higher end flashlights, is I wish that it had a memory for the last mode that you used. So if the one that stays next to my bed at night, I like to keep on the low setting because these get really bright, and in our bedroom it'll reflect off the ceiling and the walls, and it'll wake up my wife if it's on too bright and I have it wide open angle. So I really wish it would remember the most recent setting so I could just put it on low and always have it on low and know it was going to be on low when I used it again. But for how cheap these are, I don't know. It's not a huge loss, and I'm okay with that. My favorite thing about these flashlights, what I think makes them really versatile, is the 18650 battery. So if we pop the bottom off, this is what you're going to find inside. They're called 18650s because they're 18 millimeters in diameter and 65 millimeters long. Now these, I had no idea even existed until I started getting these flashlights. Now what makes them cool is this is what you find in those old 4-cell and 6-cell laptop batteries. The ones that would always die and you would always have to replace, but it would be like 70 bucks for new batteries, so you'd get the cheap one for like 20 bucks, and then 3 months later it would die again. Yeah, these are what was in there. When it said 4-cell or 6-cell, it meant 4 or 6 of these guys. Now generally there's one of 2 reasons that these batteries would die. Either the battery controller failed, or one of these cells in that array was maybe slightly below the efficiency and wasn't comparable to the other cells anymore, and so the whole thing would be dead. But they were still good, and luckily these flashlights don't discriminate on how good these batteries are. If they can hold juice, these flashlights can use them, and that's where this gets really cool. So with my very first flashlight, I got a kit, and it was a single flashlight that comes with a charger. It comes with an adapter for a AAA battery. It does not come with either AAA's or the 18650s, but it comes with a sleeve to help with the fit a little bit. Now once I had this, I bought a 6-cell battery off of eBay for something like $8 shipped. And once I got that, I was able to crack it open. Now here, I would recommend checking out some YouTube videos that talk about this because it can be a little bit dangerous, so you want to exercise some caution. But I was able to get this guy open, harvest all of the cells inside of it, and now I had a bunch of backup batteries for my flashlight. But I couldn't have 6 batteries and only 1 flashlight, so I bought a couple more. And then I got another battery, and then I had one of my own that I remembered that I thought had died, and so I ripped that open. And next thing I knew, I have about 7 flashlights and probably about 30 batteries. But that evolution is what surprised me and why I love these things just so much. I have one in my nightstand, in my wife's nightstand, in my car, in my wife's car, in the kitchen junk drawer that everybody has, in my toolbox. I have one everywhere because I find I use them all the time. When I first kind of kicked this off with the very first flashlight, I never thought that it would have come to this, but as I've gone down that rabbit hole, that's why I'm making this video. That's why I wanted to feature it, because for something really cheap, I end up using it almost every day. I use it all the time. So cheap, what do I mean by cheap? If you're paying more than $10 for one of those initial kits that I talked about that comes with the charger, with the adapters and that stuff, you're paying too much. And once you have that, once you have your backup batteries, then you can get a pair of these for usually about 13 or 14 bucks, but as long as you're under 15, you're pretty good. And that's not a bad price for what you're getting. And talking about this makes me think of a very specific use case scenario for it, and that's for the preppers. And you know who you are because you're probably already thinking it as you watch this video. This is a great flashlight for the people who are getting ready in case crap hits the fan. They're cheap, batteries last forever, they're versatile, they're durable, the components are often interchangeable, and one thing I think would be great is if you had one of those solar panel chargers, and if you had a rig where you could always charge this, you will always have a flashlight, which would be invaluable in your survival kit. Now before you start buying these in bulk, just keep in mind that the multi-packs generally don't have that charger, so you'll probably want to buy one of those separately, or at least start off with just a single pack that comes with the entire kit. That way you can start to build up to what you need if you want to get to the point where you have a mini flashlight arsenal like I have. So there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on why I think these little flashlights are so cool. They're great bang for the buck, they're super durable so far, and they have a lot of really cool functions. So let me know in the comments if you've stumbled across any tool that you find you ended up using every day. I want to know about them because that's the kind of stuff that I like. I like finding those little gems that become staples in my life. As long as they're a good value, I want to know about them. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to shoot me a like and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of these cool little things that you didn't know could make your life better. I'm Mike with Things You Might Like, and I'll see you with my next cool thing.